Hi guys, welcome back to Java Full Stack Made Easy session 60. In this session, we'll be talking about Angular services. This is the part 2, part 1 where we have discussed about the dependency injection and Angular services. So this is again a continuation of the same where we will be creating more Angular services. So let's go back to what we have done in the previous example. We have actually created a button, and upon click of this particular button, the service was actually getting executed, and we were just getting a message from the service, right? So it was kind of a message service that we have created in our previous session. And if you remember, we have talked about the dependency injection, what exactly dependency injection is, and how Angular dependency injection system works, and why do we create a private variable within the arguments of a constructor, right? So in this session we are going to talk about a service, again Angular service, which will act as a data manager. So services, when components, like when multiple components wants to share the same data, at that time we can create a service which can be considered as a data manager. So let's go ahead and understand how do we do that, and also before that, let us understand a scenario in which we are going to do that. And if you remember, in one of my example, what I did was, when we were talking about a parent and child communication, if you remember, we had something called as the add student, right? And then we had a parent component, the app component, right? And in the add student, this was actually adding data to student array, right? And the app component was used to display that is view data, display data. So what was happening was, basically this parent add student was sending the data to the parent, right? And that data which was sent by the child component, the add student component, was actually displayed here through what? Through a output decorator. Now what we are going to do is, we will have a central repository that is going to be our service, right? And in this case, there can either be a add student as a child component, and there can be another component called as a view component as well, right? So two components without being a parent and child can also share the data among them. And this is where the concept of services comes into picture. We don't need a parent and a child component for communication. It can be a sibling component that can communicate with each other. That means both these components can also share the data, and that is done through the services. So in this example, what I basically want to do is, I will have a component called as the add student, which I've already created, and I will also create a component called as the view component. And the add component will add the student. Okay, let's take the same data, that is going to be student. Add component will add the student, whereas view component will display all students. So this is what I want. And there can be other components as well that we can create later, but as of now we have the student add student component and a display student component, and both of these components will actually work on the students that is actually created in the service. So the end result would be what? Add student will add the student to this array. The view component will have the same data displayed on the view component. So here what we are using service as, we are using the service as the data manager, right? So where the data will be managed and multiple components can share the data. So a service can also act as a data manager, and instead of storing the data in a component, we can store and manage it in the service. The advantage of storing and managing the data within the service is that multiple components can use the same data. So if multiple components wants the same data, obviously it has to be created at the service side rather than creating at the component side. And also components will be more focused on the look and feel, the view of the page, rather than thinking of a business logic. So business logic we will move to the services. Fine. So in real world, you can use these type of data managers for managing cart items in an e-commerce application, or maybe managing logged in user data and all that. so that multiple components knows that whether the data whether the user is logged in or not, right? So you can also use it to store temporary data. If we don't have any database or anything, then we can use this service as the temporary database. Fine. So I hope now you have got to know what exactly I'm trying to achieve by this. Let's go ahead and implement the same within the code. So here, first of all, what I will do is I will generate the service. So I have another command prompt opened over here where I will generate the service. So we already have discussed about creating the service ng generate service, right? nggs is for ng generate service. So either we can use the Angular CLI command, that is ng generate service, or we can create a TypeScript file and then we can use the injectable decorator to create a service. But I am creating a service by using a nggs, that is generate service. So this is my student service. So I'll be creating it as a student service. So this will create me two files. One is the main file that I'm looking for, that is service.typescript, and the next one is the spec.typescript. So if I look at the service now, the student service TypeScript. So again, it is provided in root, like we discussed in the previous session. It is available globally. That means multiple components can access it without any problem. So injectable is already added. That means this particular service can be injected. Angular dependency injection system can inject this particular thing to any of the component. Now the next point is that in this service, I would like to take a array of students. That means this data I would like to create here. So let's go ahead and create that, which is going to be students, okay, of type student, okay, which will be an array, and whatever data you want to initialize, you can initialize the data here. So let us initialize some dummy data in this case, and if I'll just check if I had the data created in my previous examples. If I have that, then we can copy paste it, or what we can do is we can go here and let's call it as demo 1 service student service. Okay, let's create it as for now where there's no data. So I'll just put up some dummy data here like hi or something, so that later I'll be using this file and I'll change it. So let's go to this Java full stack made easy Angular, and day 58 I believe should have the data. So let's go there. So search by name and all that is there. So in this case I should be having the data. So here is the students data. So this is what I'm looking for. Let's get this data and put it into the service. Okay, you can put any data, just because I didn't wanted to write it again and again, so I'm creating this. So I have some data here, which will be stored in my service. So the service contains the data, and in the service I will create two methods. One method that adds the data into this particular array, that is one for the add student, another one for the view student. So let's write the logic here inside the service itself. So service will actually contain the get students, which will retrieve all the students, and it will contain the add student, that will add up the student to this data. Fine. So get students just returns the students array. So we will first write that, which is going to be very easy in our case. Let's just call it as get students. So this get students method just returns the students array, return this dot students. That's it. And similarly I'll also create another method that is going to be add student. So add student, how this will work now: add student will actually take an argument of type student, okay, so which is going to be student of type student. And now this add student just it is going to push the uh, argument, that is this student, into the students array. So we can say this dot student dot push, and simply push the student object into it. So that way we will have two functionalities implemented here. One that adds up the student, another one that displays the student. So as for now, I already have a add student component. If you see it here, there's a add student component, but there is no component called as view student. So let me also create a view student component. We know to create a component, we do a ng generate component, the view component. Okay, so let's call it as just a view. So we have a add student and we have a view component. So two components are there. Let us just go ahead and create those components accordingly. And in my app component, I'm just gonna take both of them and display both the component, that is the view component as well as the add student component, right? So let's go to the app.html. So in the app.html, what I would like to have is, let's remove this service and also remove everything that's written here in the app.typescript, which we have already discussed. So app, the main component, the root component, will not have anything. It will just have the app dash add student, and then there will be the app dash view component. Okay, let's create a paragraph and then say list of available students. Okay, that will display the view component. That's it. So now what we will do is, we will go to the view component and display all the details that is coming up from the service, that is the student service. So for that, we will go to the view component dot typescript, and here in the view component dot typescript, we are going to inject the service student service. So we know that to inject the service, we need the constructor compulsory. So and a variable which is private, that means it is going to be an instance variable. Let's call it as the student service, and this is just an instance name. Now the student service that I'm writing is actually the service name. Okay, so student service, that needs to be injected now. All right, now I have created this student service, and from within the student service, what I want to do is that inside this constructor itself, I want to retrieve the data. And what I will do is, I will just simply say students is gonna be an array here, the students of type student, which is going to be an empty array in our case. And then lastly, what I will do is, I will just simply say this dot students will be equal to the service, that is student service dot get students. So this is what I want from the student service. So all the data will be retrieved and will be kept inside the students array. And lastly, the HTML, where we are going to just use the uh, uh, ng for, and then we will display all the details of the student. So I guess I already have that as well in my day 58 or 57 somewhere. So I'll just simply get that details and display it. So search by name, let's go to the HTML of this and display all the details into a tabular format. Fine, so here is the data, then there is an app.html. So here I have that table, so I want to display this particular table. My properties are same, so I don't need to change anything, because the previous example was also working on the student model, and this example also works on the student model. Only one thing is there, that is the pipe I don't want to use in this case. So as for now, I'll just remove that pipe. Okay, so let's say let's student of students, that's fine. uh, okay, so let's just save it. And let's see whether we are able to view the data or not first. So I'll go to the browser, and a view component should be added. So one more thing, that is yeah, my ng serve is working fine. So add student is working here, and there is a view student, list of available students. So these are the students that I have actually created in the service, that's being displayed. So now let's go to the add student. Now in this case, if I add a new student, then that student will not be added. That's because we did not call the service and we did not update that service. So this add student is actually sending an output to the parent, right? So we don't have that as of now. So what I'm gonna do now is I will go to the add student and change that to send the details. So you can see that there is a two-way data binding included here, roll number, everything that is bind, which is our previous example itself. And upon add student, what I have to actually do here now is that I have to inject the service, and instead of pushing submitting it to e.emit, I'm gonna push this detail. That means I will be calling the add student of this student service that I have created, and based on that we will just be sending the student here, and that will push the details to the service array. So here add student dot typescript, the first thing that we would require is, let's remove this output and all. So we will have a constructor being created here. Let's create a constructor, and we'll have a private student service of type student service. Okay, and upon click of this add student, what it has to do is it has to simply do a this dot student service dot add student has to be called, and the this dot student has to be pushed within that. So let's just save it and now see that whether our both the components, that is the view component and the display component, sorry, view component and the add component, both are working with the same data students created inside the service or not. So I'll go here, and this is the data which I hard coded inside the service, and I have the data just to cross verify in the student service. You will see that I will add a new data which is gonna be roll number 6 in our case. Okay, so let's add up roll number 6 here. Name we will take Pandya, which is not taken above, right? So roll number and name is something I've changed. I'll just save it. So you'll see that this Pandya is displayed to me. That means this view component that I've created is actually taking the data from the Angular service. Now let us check whether this add student will push the data to the Angular service or not. So if it does that, then that means two components, the add student component and the view component, both are sharing the same data. So this will ensure us that we have created the service as a data manager. So let's create the roll number 10. Okay, and let's create the name as Sachin, and then gender male. Let's create some marks 133 or something, semester 1. Let's just click on the add student. The moment I click on add student, you can see that the new data is added, which means that both this component, the add student component and the view component, both are working with the service, and the data of the service is this, that is student service, the students data. So now you can map what exactly I told you at the beginning of this session. I told you that we are going to create a service where we will be creating an array, and there will be two components, the add student component and the view component. The add student component is going to add the data to this array which is created in the service, and the view component is going to display all that details from the service. So that's what I have done. And in the main component, that is the app component, I have created the display data, and also I have created the add. That means these two components are just added onto the main component. So this is our main component, the app component, where I have added both this component, the add student and the view component, right? So you can see that here in the HTML. So if I go to the app component HTML, I have just added the add student and the view component. So I have done that, and then I have created a service, student service, and within the student service I have the array created here. So you can see that in the student service I have created an array students, and the student service contains a get student that displays all the students, add student that adds up the student into this array. So that's what is created here. So you can see that there's some default data added into that array, and there are two methods, the get students that returns the current students array, and then add student that takes the object, the student object, and pushes that object into the current students array. So that we are done with the service by doing that, right? So what view component does, view component displays all the student details from the service. So view component should inject the student service within it and then display it. So that's what we are doing in the view component. So you can see that in the view component .typescript, I have initially created a empty array and I'm injecting the student service here. So once the student service is injected, we are calling the method get students from the student service, and whatever is returned, that means all that array which is returned by the service will be stored into this particular empty array that we have created, and that's the array which we are binding on the HTML. So you can see that we have created a table and we are binding the students array here. So by doing that, we will be displaying the student detail from the service. And lastly, the add student, that actually again injects the students service and adds the student object which is created on the HTML to the service. So let's see that as well. So first thing is add student HTML. So let's go to this HTML and see what is there. We have created a student object in the TypeScript, and we are binding each of these inputs, that is the roll number, name, gender, mark, semester, to the properties of this student object which is created here at the top. So this is spec.typescript. So let's go to yeah, this one, add student. So you can see that there is one object, student object, created here, and all the properties of the student object are actually bind by using two-way data binding on the HTML. So by using this two-way data binding, you can see student dot gender is bind, and then you can see marks are bind, semester, name, everything is bind here. Fine. So you can see that roll number, name, everything is bind. So once this binding is done, we have a button here. Upon click of this button, it is calling the add student, and upon click of the add student, it goes to this method, add student method. And this add student, what it does, when we are injecting this service, that service add student method will be called, and the current student object will be sent to the service accepts that and then adds that into the array. So hope the things are clear. So I will be sharing this example with you with every single piece of code that I have written here, right from the service to the components. Fine. So the very first thing that I'll share with you is the service. Okay, let's go back to the day 60 that we have created, and in the day 60 we have created demo 1 student service, and in the demo 1 student service we had this service student. So what I did for this was I actually generated a ng generate service student service. Okay, that's what I have done. The student service I generated, and also I did a ng generate component, the view component. So two things I have done in this example though. So this is student service dot typescript. So the student service dot typescript contains this. Fine. Then we have the main component. So the main component is app.typescript. So basically app.typescript contains nothing. I've just cleaned up everything that was written in the app.typescript. So you can see that there is nothing in the app.typescript. So let me share that with you. So app.typescript is clean, but what is there on the app.html is important. I have added two components on the app.html. One is the add student, another one is the view student. Both of them are sharing the data from the service. So that is done. Now the add student dot typescript. So we have the add student dot typescript and add student dot html. So here is the add student typescript, which is injecting the service and calling the add method, and then we have the add student dot html, which is binding all the students property and then displaying that. And for this obviously you need a student model. So this is our view dot typescript. So view dot typescript is also injecting the student service and initializing this array, the empty array that we have created with the array that is being returned by the service. Then view dot html, where we are just binding the data coming up from this service and displaying it. So for this example I will also give you the student model. so that will be easy for you to uh, bind everything. So let me give you the student model. This is the same model I have been using in my previous examples as well. Student dot model dot typescript. So let me share that with you, which just has some properties defined with it. So here is the student dot model dot typescript. So this is what I have given you, and hopefully the example is clear to you. Now I encourage you to complete this assignment. So assignment, what you do is you create a model named car, okay, and identify the properties of the car. Example, identify in the sense you decide what all properties of a car that you want to create, like there can be a model of the car, then the maker, okay, and what all things can be added, model, maker, and then the color, that and so on. So you decide the properties, you create 5 properties or 6 properties, whatever is convenient to you. So you create a model named car, and then you create a car service, okay. The car service adds the car and displays the car, and then you create a cars view component that displays all the cars. Similarly, you create another component, add car component, that adds the car to the service. Okay, the same example that I have done, in my case my model is student, so in your case the model should be a car, and it has to perform the similar operations that we have done in this video. So by doing this you will be able to actually create the model on your own, right, and then you will be able to create the services, you try and create the components, and you'll be able to create a view component and the add component. Finally, add both the add and view cars component on the root component, okay. And yeah, that's it as for now. If you wish to just add up some bootstrap and all and give a better look and feel to it, it's all up to you. We can give that. In our next example we can enhance this, and also we will be talking about more of these services, where a very important service concept we will be talking about is going to be HTTP services in our future tutorials. So I hope it's clear to you, and thank you for your support. Do like my videos, and also share it with your friends. Subscribe to my channel for better reach. Thank you. See you in the next video.